Now let's examine the heart, and more specifically, again, how creation speaks to our heart about the attributes of God. And in order to see these things correctly, we need to see them with a certain set of eyes. Okay, we need to see them with what I call Psalm 104 eyes. And I don't know if anybody here is familiar with Psalm 104. It's just one of those psalms kind of tucked away of the 150 psalms. It's in there, and it's tucked away in there. But what that psalm is about, it takes a detailed look at the natural world for what it is. The creation and handiwork of God, and that's something that He upholds and takes care of. And the psalmist who wrote that psalm saw it that way, because that's how God revealed it to him. And with that, I've given that Psalm 104 eyes a definition. And that is, they are the eyes that look at creation as the craftsmanship and artistry of God that serves His purposes. They are the eyes of wonder like a child, but also the eyes of the wise. And so when we look at creation, we need to see it this way. We need to see it as the craftsmanship and artistry of God, and it serves His purposes. And one of His purposes for the creation is to make Himself known to us. Okay? And we need to see it as the craftsmanship of God. The Hebrew word bara, B-A-R-A, which is used in the creation account in Genesis, actually, what it implies is creating out of nothing with artistic freedom and imagination, creating like a craftsman. So that's what that word means. So that's how our God created. And so we need to see it as God's craftsmanship. And we also need to see it with eyes of wonder like a child. Now, as I discussed earlier, and that's actually my daughter, those are her eyes. And she's got eyes of wonder. Recently we went to a movie. We went to her first movie. It was the movie Frozen. It's a kid's movie. And it was their first movie, my two kids' first movie in a theater. And she watched it like this. Just with eyes of wonder. She was fascinated. My son, now we're trying to get him a little independence, and we're letting him wash his hands by himself. But if we don't go in there and check on him, it's going to take him 5 minutes, because he gets all these bubbles in the sink and just is going like this and takes out the drain, you know? It's like, he's just got eyes of wonder, right? And children are fascinated, like through different things that we're not even fascinated at. And one of the things they really have eyes of wonder about are like the movies and stories and fairy tales. Why do they have eyes of wonder about these things? Well, because they're magical, mysterious, and enchanting. What's more magical and mysterious and enchanting than God's creation? And we also need to see God's creation with the eyes of the wise. All right, we need to see it as God wants us to see it. Do you think that God wants us to see creation as vermin, as something to be pushed aside and abused and polluted? No, that's not how He wants us to treat His creation. But then again, we're not supposed to see it as something high and lifted up and considered divine in any way, as someone's prone to do, right? They worship creation instead of the Creator. But no, we can't even consider creation equal to ourselves, because it's not. It's just our house. And a house is never more valuable or equal in value to the people who live there. Right? It's a house. And speaking of a house, when my family and I go on vacation, someone comes and watches our house for us and watches our dog. He's a steward of our house. And as a steward, he's watching over, but he's also using. And with God's creation, we're supposed to be stewards of it. We watch over it, but we also use it in the way it was meant to be used. So we have to have the eyes of the wise. And again, we need to see creation as something that glorifies God and points to Him as Creator. And to make Him, God uses His creation to make Himself known to us. Author and pastor